Uh, Mr. Paul Golding, you are a mobile 2.0 expert. You're an author of quite a few books about this subject. And today we learned a lot about your views at this seminar. You know that we are working for newspaper, news media companies. And we wonder what would be your advice to these companies. What should they think of in the first place when they think of mobile applications for their news media companies?
Yeah, first of all, there is a large opportunity now to extend your readership through the mobile channel, because we're seeing now with the emergence of new devices and data plans and things like this, it's much easier to mobilize content, much easier to attract readers and users to your content on the mobile. But the primary consideration needs to be the user experience. And the common mistake made is to try and take an existing publication and in some way to sort of replicate that on the mobile. Whereas really what you need to do is think about how do you achieve the best possible user experience for your mobile users. So user experience is the first thing you need to think about, even to the extent I would say that you need to designate someone in your organization whose primary responsibility is to think about the user experience.
It's interesting you say that, because every year we make a report. So we have an Outlook report for 2009 in which we basically say, look, the audience we've always forgotten. We spent 5% in the past to the audience, 5% to the brand, and 90% to the content. And we claim that in the future, these newspaper companies should really have 50% interest in their audience and 25% for content and 25% for brand. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would say at least 50%.
At least.
Yes.
Okay.
Certainly the trends we're seeing generally are all driven by the Web 2.0, and this is basically moving and mobilizing. And what we're seeing there is that social media is a very important phenomenon now, whereby the participation of the audience in the news itself, either in the news generation, their own content, or in the critiquing of the news or the content, the sharing and evangelizing of the news, creating new types of social network and connection through the content. This is becoming a very important development in media generally. So this is, you know, all centered upon the audience. And this is presenting some challenges to more sort of traditional journalism, where in some ways we've sort of thought of the opinion of the audience as not being so important as our own opinions. And of course we don't need to dilute the talent of our journalists here, but we do need to involve the audience in a greater degree. And in that case, it's happening anyway.
Could you imagine that a newspaper, for example, would be helping readers to be in contact with other readers?
Definitely, yes. Yeah. This is already happening in some parts of the world. So a story evolves, and what the newspaper's job is, or the media's job, is to allow sort of micro segments to form around different stories, and for these people, them talking about the news becomes the news itself. And to be able to find other opinions, to develop affinity with other readers, we're finding that this is something that audiences crave. It's normal social interaction that we all love. So,
maybe a last question, which of course every publisher would ask: how am I going to have money with all this?
This is always the big question. In some ways, the question has moved on a little bit, because you'll find in most markets there is already a good deal of your competitors will be using the mobile. The way to think about it is this: that the future is going to be multi-channel digital experiences, so print, online, IPTV, and mobile, and
also
others.
For the advertisers.
Yeah, and for the advertisers. So mobile will become the pivot for all of these experiences without doubt, because it's the one device that we always have upon us. We can always use it to access content.
Like the newspaper.
Like the newspaper, yeah. So it is, you know, tomorrow's newspaper, the thing we're always going to use to access information. It's a good point. So you have to go there. Then it's really a question now of monetization. Well, what we're seeing is that advertising, you know, we're being challenged in terms of advertising generally in the advertising world with how do you get your message to your audience with the kind of breakdown of the broadcast structures. So you need to be able to think about how do I offer to my advertisers a very targeted service where I can get their messages and services to precisely the type of audience who will go and buy these services. And from that you can actually charge more money to the advertisers. We know this generally, targeted advertising demands a higher premium. And with the new technologies and using the mobile, you have an opportunity to increase that level of personalization and reach your audience in a very targeted fashion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.